Hi everyone, welcome to another video. As usual, if I keep looking off to the side, it's just to continue to check how my video is doing because I need to check if there's any lag time between the iPad and the camera. So for my concealer, I'm going to use my BAREMINERALS Complexion Rescue in the shade Fair Birch. I already put on primer. I kind of figured maybe I'll start doing that off camera because it's primer. Like, as long as you guys know what kind of primer I'm using, I don't really think it matters that you guys are watching me apply it because it's primer, it's face primer. Like, it's kind of obvious how you put face primer on. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and skip straight into the complexion color makeup is kind of what I'll do from now on. I'm not sure. If I ever am like testing a new primer or I want to show off a primer, then I will show it on footage, but I'm currently just using the exact same stuff I've been using for the past several videos. Nothing has really changed in that regard. So I used the Dominique Cosmetics primer here, which is, there's literally like this much left, and then I used my Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Eye Base. I'm a little bit nervous to use this because I wasn't really able to use it much before the weather changed, and I'd really like to use it again. This is the Power Fabric Plus. I have it in the shade 1. This is the reformulated version of Power Fabric. Oh, the other version, just Power Fabric, the normal, like normal name and everything, has been discontinued. This definitely was a great option during the summer, obviously, but so I'm a little bit nervous to use it right now, and I'm gonna use a less wet sponge today. I'm gonna use one that I dampened with setting spray instead of water. Sometimes I find that using a slightly drier sponge kind of makes the foundation look a little bit more smooth on my skin. However, it comes at the cost of sometimes making the foundation look a little bit dry. However, the biggest reason that I didn't completely dampen my sponge in the sink today would just have be because I completely forgot to, and I was too lazy to do that once I sat down. As you can see, this foundation does have pretty high coverage, which is why I got it initially. And during the summer, I do really like it. It does hold up really well, especially in the southern humidity, because it can be absolutely merciless here sometimes. Okay, it looks pretty good. Some dry patch. There's a couple of spots like kind of around my eyes. Right here is a common place where if there's any dryness it'll kind of stick around there, but other than that it looks pretty good, looks pretty smooth. I feel like it is pretty much setting on its own. Like, I don't need any additional powder to set it, so by the end of this video, if I need to throw on some finishing powder I will, but I'm going to probably avoid using setting powder on my face for now because, as you can see, pretty much it's so matte that it just kind of is setting on its own. Okay, so I'm going to be testing, I'm going to continue, I've been testing this for a while now, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to test out the 04 shade today. I want to see what happens when I mix the yellow and the salmon colors together on my finger. Any sort of pot concealer in general is going to always have a thicker consistency to it, but I have noticed this is a little bit thinner and a little bit less kind of thick and drying. However, as you can see, it does kind of have a cost of giving me less coverage, but as you can see, I never bring my concealer all the way up to my lower lash line. Just wouldn't look good. So you can see I didn't fully cover, but now I think I can use a very, very tiny layer, tiny line of my JX Professional Concealer, and I can just use it like right on the tear groove. I think it should be fine. We'll see. I'm like experimenting totally right now. Pretty sure this brush is clean, so I'm gonna use this very, very tiny brush. This is actually a precision liner brush, but I sometimes do like using them for concealer when I need to apply it really precisely. So I'm just gonna put it right on that tear groove. And then I just used that brush to gently tap the edges, and you can see that the coverage has definitely been increased. And then to make sure it looks a little bit more blended, I do use a sponge to kind of run it over the edges. And so you can see now how the tear groove has been covered up much more. Yeah, so that pretty much is, I think that's going to be good enough for now. I don't want to mess around with my under eyes too much. Because I have such a tendency to pull my blush under my eyes, I generally find that even if my concealer isn't full coverage, the blush kind of like distracts people from it. So the fact that it's not full coverage today, I'll just kind of let that slide. Okay, so I'm going to put on an eye primer, and today I'm going to go back to using my SUQQU eye primer. I'm going to use the ESPOIR Brow Balance today. I haven't used it in a while because I'm trying to finish up other stuff, but this is currently my favorite brow pencil, so I do like to make sure I use it once in a while so that I can still use my favorite. You see how fine of a line I can get with this product? Okay, and then I'm going to use the Glossier Brow Flick. I am going to go ahead and use the Makeup by Mario Bronzing Balm. You'll probably see me use this for several videos to come while I try and decide what I actually like, which one I want to keep. I still have not decided yet. I feel like there are merits to each shade, but I just also don't need to have both. So I'm not sure yet. I also am curious to see how this will perform on top of a foundation that is so much more matte. As you can see, light medium, I do use a much lighter hand. I use a lot less product because it is a little bit darker, but I feel like the undertone is definitely more neutral. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's so excessive for me to keep both, but I just can't really place one over the other right now. And with each passing week, my sister is just like, so have you decided yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't. You gotta give me more time. And she's like, but I want it. Okay, I remember what I was going to do with this video. I like had it all in my head like 2 hours ago. And then the moment I sat down to film, of course, I immediately forgot I was gonna film, but I remember now. I wanted to do a video making a look where I used the Oden's Eye Merry Christmas palette. Now I'm not going to be getting this year's new ones because I feel like the color schemes are kind of messy, scattered, and there's like virtually no contrast to them, so many light shades, so I definitely feel like I would get bored of it really quickly, and I would not feel like I'm doing looks I like with each one. I also was initially so excited to see that there was a holographic shade in one of them, and I was thinking of buying that almost exclusively just to see what was going on, what that shade was all about, but the reviews of that shade and how it performs have me thinking otherwise. But in the meantime, I kind of wanted to pull from these old palettes, so just for reference, here is the Merry Christmas palette. It is your kind of stereotypical holiday colors, really pretty. And then the color selection in Christmas Eve is much more evocative of a dark night before Christmas. This definitely was kind of like the fan favorite of the two, but both palettes were very popular and they sold out really quickly, and now they're back. I believe this is going to be the last time they come back though. They're not going to come back next Christmas. If I am correct on that one, Oden's Eye really only brought this one back for this Christmas season. But with that being said, as always, do shop responsibly. I personally do think they're quite nice, but I found the quality to not be where I was super happy with, and that combined with the Legendary Diversa Part 2 collaboration set that came out this year, I haven't really touched Oden's Eye in a while. I think I'm going to start off with the shade Nightfall and just kind of use that just like almost like a base shade. I just want to have something that I'm starting to lay down. I am also interested in seeing how these perform on top of my SUQQU eye primer. I've used them with my Rare Beauty primer, and I just want to see how they work with the SUQQU one. So as you can see, I'm kind of sticking this a little further in than I usually would because this isn't going to be the darkest shade in the look, but I just want to lay it down to basically be like kind of a transition shade, but also not really, because as you can see, it's already quite dark. But this is just really just to give the darkest shade something to blend into. And I'm going to pile it on quite thickly. I was watching makeup, oh my god, I can't remember her YouTube handle anymore, but Missa. I was watching Missa, her Winter Wonderland Cosmic Brushes post, because the Winter Wonderland palette was revealed from Cosmic Brushes, and I generally do really like Cosmic Brushes. The only reason I skipped Gothic was because I just didn't really need another purple palette. I feel like I have too many, and I don't use purple eyeshadows that often, but the Winter Wonderland one that just got revealed, yes, I do want to buy that one. I love that Cosmic Brushes keeps her prices so super duper fair, under 30 pounds or bust. So of course for me with postage and everything, I'm gonna end up paying a lot more than 30 pounds, but that's my problem. That's not Cosmic Brushes' problem. So I will of course be buying from them. I'm going to next use Christmas Eve. I'm going to use this shade. I don't want to use this shade. I want to use this one because this one is a little bit more saturated. I'm a little nervous about fallout, but And I did just see Fantasy Cosmetica drop their limited edition holo collection, but from the look of the swatches from YouTubers I follow who received the collection in PR, the holo just doesn't seem super visible, which is, if I'm gonna buy a holo shadow, I want to be able to see the holo from space. So I think I'm gonna pass on that one as well, but definitely a really cool concept. I love the library concept, it was super cute. That, and I'm also debating getting some Ace Beauté stuff. They've been having a Black Friday sale all November long. I've been debating those limited edition, I think six or seven pan palettes that are flower themed. The yellow one's already long gone, but the other three are still available, and I've been debating getting those because they're on sale for under 20 bucks each now. And then of course, realistically speaking, I have to really think about how much more can my backlog take. My one criticism of this palette that I'm remembering I had from last year was that I felt like the mattes were not totally opaque. Like this shade in particular, Christmas Eve, did not go as dark as I had liked, and now I'm remembering that. So I'm going to use Happy Ending and Merry Christmas, which is black. I'm going to use that later to really add some depth. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop with that before I start mattifying my eyelid to the point where I can't put on any more pigment. So I'm just going to cease operations there. So next I'm going to take a fluffier brush and I'm going to go into Best Wish from the Merry Christmas palette. This is kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a mint green because it's a little bit more saturated than that. It's a fun shade of pastel green. It's a little bit kind of more vivid, so it doesn't have as much blue in it, so it doesn't feel like a mint green, but it is really fun and cute. I'm gonna use this to bridge the two shades and go into my inner corner. I also do find sometimes, and I'm not the only one who feels this way, I feel like Oden's Eyes pastels can sometimes be very hit or miss. So seeing that the Christmas palettes this year are full of pastel shades was kind of just another reason for me to pass. I just wasn't really feeling it. If you want to go for it, definitely, you know, go for it, and I hope you enjoy them. They are limited editions, so if you want them, then you are gonna have to grab them sometime soon before they sell out. And then I'm going to go into Christmas Tree, which is this more teal shade up here, and I'm going to use that to transition from the blue into the green. So I'm definitely using quite the smattering of shades today, but I want to make sure that I can create a really clean gradient as I go from blue to green. So usually I'm not really a huge fan of seeing people put like the entire palette on one eyelid because I feel like the look doesn't look that great and it looks kind of chaotic. It just doesn't seem super helpful to me personally. I prefer when people do multiple looks using a couple shades each, but the nature of this look, I want a very specific gradient, so that's why I'm going into so many mattes. I want to go from blue to green, and so that necessitates using a couple of different shades to get the gradient just right. I find lately that Oden's Eyes mattes have been not really all that great at being opaque, but I will have to say they have become so much better at blending than they used to be. Definitely kind of a give and take situation, depending on what you want to go for, but you know, for some people that's preferential, so that's completely up to you. Oh, I do also have some dry patches here that you can see the eyeshadow is not sticking to really well. You see all of this? These are dry patches on my eyes. Okay, I'm gonna go into Nightfall, specifically just on my left eye because the blending got kind of out of control. Yeah, so you can see how it looks so much more smoother on this eye versus this eye, so it's not the eyeshadow's problem. I've been having some dryness up here. My eyeshadow up here in general has not been looking super great lately. I do definitely find some formulas are far more able to work around this dry patch than others, so Oden's Eyes, you can see, is really not able to negotiate this dryness very well. For the lower lash line, I'm going to Night Sky because it's a little bit more of a warm dark blue, so I won't look like I bruised myself. I think Hakuhodo makes my favorite packer brushes. Just go for something that's like stiff. I think this one's goat hair of some kind, so something like that, and then nice and flat, and you'll find that it works really well. I'm going to go into Best Wish underneath that, just so that I am not using too much blue down here. Otherwise, the blue can interact with my under eye dark circles, and it just looks really bad. I'm going to go back into Nightfall on my right eye just really quickly. I feel like it kind of got a little bit lost. I keep going out of focus. I am so sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and just go straight into the shimmers, I think. So I'm gonna go into New Year right here. I think this is gonna be really pretty. And since I'm just showing off this palette and making a look with both palettes, just mostly just to like be like, oh yeah, this exists. If you want it, you can get it. Here's what it looks like. I'm gonna use my NYX glitter glue. And you don't have to use very much. This tube will last you like forever, so I'm just going to take it and put it everywhere that I intend on putting down some kind of shimmer, whatever color I end up picking. And I always just use my finger for this. I know some people use brushes, that's fine too. I got this Surratt brush thinking it'd be good for concealer, and I did not like it for concealer at all, so I'm going to use this to pick up the shade New Year, and I'm going to put this right here first. I do prefer Oden's eye shimmers with a finger. When you have a glitter glue on and you're using a really nice firm brush like this, you can use a brush. As you can see, I go in with multiple passes because I feel like I have to just do a little bit at a time. Like I can't just swipe it across the whole area all at once. I do have to just add a little here, a little there. So as you can see, this is a really pretty teal shimmer. I feel like it's pretty, but it also just, when I remember first using this and I thought to myself, it just somehow did not have specialness to it that I was kind of expecting. It's definitely a unique shade. Like there's not very many teal shadows on the market even right now, so it's definitely not like super common, but something about the finish just felt like I had hoped to get better from Oden's eye. And that probably is just me having way too high of expectations because I am such a sparkly shadow connoisseur, but I just felt like it was just like, it's sparkly and it's reflective, but somehow it just feels so flat, and my feelings on that haven't changed. It is still a very beautiful shade, but I don't know, it felt like something was missing. Like this shadow is missing something that could really take it up to the next level. So next I'm going to take a small little brush like this so that I can put something on the inner corner. I'm gonna try using Snowflake. I don't know if this is gonna be too cool for this look, but we'll see. Again, Snowflake I distinctly remember being very glittery and sheer, so it should work just fine. But one thing I do remember about Snowflake is that it really is not a super brush friendly shade. It does take several passes and you do want to use glitter glue or else it's gonna fall all over the place. It's kind of the boring option, but it also is the practical option. It looks really good. Yeah, because I felt like this shade was super special and it was super pretty. I'm gonna go into the gold, I think. I think that'll be fun. So Santa Star is really flaky. It's this shade here, and I think you can even see the patterning in the pan. This is a thick, flaky shade. Like you put it on your finger and you put it directly on your eyelid, pack it on, you're gonna feel it when you blink. So obviously that's not for everyone. When you pick it up on the brush and you use some kind of glitter adhesive, you can use it as much more of like a gold topper. And so that's how I'm going to use it for this look today. But if you want to use it all over as an opaque gold, it is spectacular, but it is heavy duty. So whether you want to use it or not like that is definitely going to just boil down to personal preference. Like do you see these individual flakes? Like I can almost draw with them, and if they fix in place, it's almost like I can't blend out these flakes. So now I just have areas where you can just visibly see these lines of flakes and I can't make them move very easily. So in this case, I'm kind of using the thickness of the eyeshadow to my benefit so that I can make a clean line using eyeshadow. If you were to try and do something a little bit more dispersed looking across the eyelid and you couldn't move it back and forth, then I could definitely see you being like, oh my god, this shade is trash. So the last thing that I need is I need to go into the black because I really was hoping for a deep dark outer corner. So I'm going to go in Happy Ending. This is pretty much a black. I do have like favored blacks in my collection I prefer to use. So if I need a black, I have like certain blacks I'm like, you know, best friends with. This black is okay. It's definitely not an opaque black, but if all you need this black to do is to deepen up a look, then it will do that for you because it does blend out really nicely. But if you want to use this black on its own, you'll probably be kind of disappointed. I don't want to completely lose the blue that was initially in this look because I kind of covered it up, so I'll kind of go between the two. Okay, yeah, I think I was able to bring it back a little bit. I definitely want to be a little bit less afraid of using blacks next year. That's one of my makeup resolutions. I try not to make too many resolutions because I always I always break them all, but one of the ones I was really thinking about is I really want to get more skilled at using black next year to add depth and dimension. Okay, so that is the look so far. Really pretty. The green kind of got lost under the gold, but honestly, I think it's fine. Having it there still acted as a really great like frame for everything else to be built on top of, so it was still important for that to be there. I want to use something else on my lower lash line. I'm gonna take Blue Ice. I feel like I remember this shadow last year being not the greatest, like almost like it was a little bit kind of too frosted. No, it's pretty good. And then I'm going to take Snowflake. I do kind of want to use a little bit of a Blue Star on the outer corner of the lower lash line. Blue Star was a shade that I kind of had a love-hate relationship with. It's really pretty, but it's very difficult to apply in such a way that it doesn't look patchy. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of it as an accent on the lower lash line. I feel like my lower lash line, it's a little bit short, I guess. Like I could have brought it down more, so I'm going to see if maybe a little bit of Christmas tree might help with just adding a little bit of extra. I don't know, that might have been a little too much. I need to add a little, just a tiny bit of blue, so I'll take a little bit of Nightfall. It's like tiny, but it still makes a difference with making my lower lash line look a little bit more well transitioned. Okay, so lastly, I think it would be good for me to take Snowflake on my finger, like just like this very sheer layer, and I'm going to pull it a little bit more into Jingle, just so that there's a little bit more transition between the two shades. I think that'll help a little bit. Okay, so this is going to be my finished look using both palettes. Obviously, I'm not using every single shade in both palette, but I just wanted to create a look using both palettes and just be like, hey, this palette exists and here's how some of the shades in it performed if you wanted to see. I'm going to finish off my eyes off camera, so I'm going to put on my lashes, my mascara, and then I'll be back to put the rest of the color on my face. Okay, so I put on my lashes. They're from Doe Lashes. I know you can kind of see my second row of natural lashes because I'm just too lazy to curl them right now. I don't really think I need any eyeliner today. The only thing I do definitely need is going to be a little bit of eyeliner in like my inner corner, so I'm just going to use my Benefit liner. This one is definitely on its way out, so after a couple more uses I do have a new one waiting in the wings. I was able to get it half off during the 21 Days of Beauty, which was great. Might try this one, the Shiseido Setsuko. It is no longer available, but this seems like a pretty neutral option, so I'm gonna try this. I'll see how this goes. I used to really like it, but then for some reason I started noticing when I started using it again after a while, I started noticing it sometimes breaks up what's underneath, so I don't know why I used to like it so much. Maybe I'm just using it different now than I used to, but I can't remember how I used to use it that I liked it. But this is just a really generic warm pink. I have like 3 shades that I bought after I learned that they were getting discontinued because I had always wanted to have more of the shades, but it blends out so easily and it does look nice, but then at the border I will feel like I can see my base going a little bit patchy. But I'm not going to put this too close to my eyes today. I'm just going to kind of have it generally wrapping from the outside of my face in, nice and broad and kind of on the more light side today. I'm not going to go super heavy on blush today because my eyes are really intense. I'm mostly just using this blush to like kind of fill out the space because I do have a very long distance between my eyes and my mouth. I do feel like I could use a little bit more bronzer now that I've finished applying everything, so I'm gonna go into my Flower Nose chocolate palette and I'm going to use the lighter shade to just add a tiny bit more contour, and this will also be able to have the dual effect of setting the perimeter of my face. That much, that's it, and you see it just kind of makes things look a little bit more seamless. I had been meaning to use this ever since I got it during 21 Days of Beauty. It was half off. I got this and Wada Brat, and I've not actually had a chance to use either of them yet. I've used Wada Brat off camera, which is fine, but I've not actually had a chance to use this period. Lightning Dust Fire Crystal, very just generic neutral toned highlighter that I think will work really well. One side is kind of meant to be less intense and more natural, and then the other side is meant to be more sparkly and intense. So I will use the less intense side very broadly across my cheeks. I just apply with my finger and you can see how it leaves just such a subtle glow. The right side, supposedly a little bit more intense. I do know these are a little bit dated because these are very old formula. I still really wanted to try one of the OG highlighters. And then I'm going to take that highlighter, I'm going to use the sparkly one, and I'm just going to pop that on my nose. So this would make for a really good nose highlighter for me because it's not too terribly intense. And I do like to put a little bit on my chin. Okay, not bad. I actually quite like that. Okay, so I think lastly I'm going to use some finishing powder and some setting spray. So I'll first go ahead and use setting spray. I'm going to kind of avoid my eyes with the setting spray, see if that helps. Mostly just want to put it on my face. So I'm going to go into one of my Hourglass finishing powders, I guess. Diffused Light is this shade here. It's this light one. And it doesn't matter which Hourglass face palette I'm using because they all always come with some kind of one of these lights finishing powders. So this is a face palette you can't get anymore, but basically I'm using Diffused Light from it. And Diffused Light at this point is probably in like a billion Hourglass palettes. This is my favorite finishing powder of the bunch, primarily because it is the lightest one, so it's not gonna like leave a cast, especially on the center of my face. So I do really like it for that. I feel like this is the one that blurs my skin the most as well. I am definitely in the camp of people where I'm like an Hourglass powder and then I don't get it. I put it on and I look the exact same. I'm definitely in that camp of people where the subtlety is lost on me, except for Diffused Light. I do really like Diffused Light. Okay, so the footage of me applying the lip liner got lost, but again, if I have to pick a time to sacrifice footage to the camera demon so that the rest of my footage can be safe, lip liner is probably a pretty good sacrifice to make. But I used the Romand lip liner in Dovey Pink, basic pink lip liner, as you can see. I used it. My lips are lined. The hyperpigmentation was concealed. Great. I'm going to use this Ink Mood Glowy tint from Peripera in the shade 11. So Peripera had a previous iteration of these called the Ink Mood Drop tints. I hated those. Could not make them look good at all. So streaky and uneven. Got rid of them. The Ink Mood Glowy tints, therefore, I was a little bit uneasy about buying, especially because I didn't want to like get something that's like super redundant because I already have the Romand Dewyful tints. But I did want to go ahead and I did want to try them at some point, so I got this recently. It is a lot more sheer than the Dewyful water tints, but it gives just a nice little hint of color. And it's really, really nice and flattering, and it feels very comfortable. It's very cushy on the lips, no more streakiness, and so I do really like this formula over the old one. I don't think if you have the Dewyful water tints that you need these two, especially in similar shades. They are so similar to each other. I think it'll kind of just be personal preference on the colors on offer. So yeah, I think they both are actually pretty comparable to each other now, which is great. So this is one of their newer shades, which is a little bit more of like a brownie shade. More brownish kind of lips are definitely really popular right now. And so this is just kind of a trendy on-trend shade for Peripera to release. I'm not usually one for brown lips, but the way that it's being done in Korea right now, I can definitely go for it. So that's what that looks like. Not really a comparable shade in the Dewyful line to this one right now. Romand did release a couple new shades of the Glasting water tints, which was a complete surprise. I was not seeing that coming. They're sitting in my Estelle cart for whenever I can get them, and those are a little bit brownier. They also released a couple new shades of their Glasting water balms, again in brownier shades, but not the Dewyful tints. So this is not currently something that I have an overlap of in my collection. That's why I picked this shade. You can see, like other Korean water tints, once it sets, it forms this really nice transparent glassy film. I do find the film to be a little bit thinner and not quite as glassy as the Dewyful water tints, and you can also see, like other tints, the color will darken slightly as it sets down. So now the brown is a little bit more darker and more intense. I find this to be a very common thing that all Korean dewy tints do. Don't rub your lips together too much, just kind of let it set, and like a minute later you'll find the color has really it's almost like the color kind of takes time to really blossom and appear. So again, that was shade 11, and the packaging is really pretty too, and I do like that the color is right on the tube. It makes it easy if you're a total lip junkie like me to pick the color. And yes, this is one of my late night filming sessions, which is why I am just comfy in my bathrobe because I'm freezing cold. Nothing fancy, sorry, but this is going to be my finished look. I'll just kind of take some of my baby hairs down to frame my face a little bit. As you can see, my bangs are finally starting to grow, so I look a little bit less redonkulous. But yeah, this is gonna be what my look looks like. I used both Christmas Eve and Merry Christmas from Oden's Eye. The look is very gorgeous. I've been wanting to create a look like this for a little bit now, so I'm glad I finally got to make it. You can definitely see the lip has continued to darken. It is such a beautiful shade of brown. I am like so into it, so I am very happy with this look. I feel like everything I used was good today, and I didn't really even need to use setting powder, and my skin looks great. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions about any of the products I used today or any of the brands I used today or any other questions in general, comments, whatever, definitely feel free to leave a comment. I love reading and responding when I can, and so I do hope to see you guys in the next video, and with that being said, I'm gonna end it here. So until then, take care. Bye-bye.